dots. It's intelligent Z optimization and transformation. So the mainframe division of BMC is now called that. Now, the reason it's called IZOT is to do with a number, which is 3,276. So 3,276 is the number of combinations you can get using 3 letters from the alphabet. BMC have used all of those to explain their other products and things. So we had to go to 4-letter abbreviations when we set up the IZOT team. So, but below that, you do see a fantastic 3-letter abbreviation, Automated Mainframe Intelligence. So each of our operating divisions within the mainframe group starts with Automated Mainframe Intelligence. So what used to be the CompuWare business is now called BMC AMI DevX, and that change happened recently. You've got BMC AMI Data with the data tools, BMC AMI Ops with the ops tools, the AI, etc. And then the software portfolio that we run, BMC AMI Security. Model 9, BMC AMI Cloud, with their product set are complementing and supporting all of these other product sets. So that's how BMC works when people talk, because we do tend to talk about things in our 3-letter abbreviations. That's how it all fits together. Next slide, please. To give you something for turning up, I thought it'd be useful for me to talk you through our, I can't see, I have here, to talk you through our customer survey. So we do this every year. This was the 17th year we just compiling results this year. And for the 3rd year in a row, security has been the thing that the customers have put as their number 1 priority. It's up from 61% to 67% of customers put it as their number 1 priority. And then the granularity within that is that reception, managing security across the enterprise, integrating the mainframe security into what we're trying to do everywhere else. It's a key number 1 thing that our customers want us. Clearly, after that is preventing intrusions, but it's interesting that getting everything tied together and then preventing intrusions, detecting intrusions is clearly another thing. Audit and compliance, all the toil that you guys have to go through in order to get those compliance reports out, the audit reports, a big area. Integrating the products across the different product lines, and then pen testing down the bottom, quite low, because I think you've got access to good pen testing resources. These are the hard to fix things up here. So this is an interesting view of how our customers present their needs to us in the survey, and I don't see there being any change to that this year, but I will present that back if we come back around again next year. Okay, next slide, hopefully. So all I want to say on this slide is, you know, we put our security products into 4 buckets: real-time threat detection and response, access management, compliance reporting, and then automating your security administration. For our friends from IBM and Broadcom, we do not have competitive products for the 3 ASMs, and we do not intend to. That's not the game that we're in. We are accepting of that. They are the market standard. You can't get better than that, and we're there to help in and around in other problem solving beyond that. So that's my statement to Robert back. Okay, no problem. Okay, next slide, please. So this is kind of just a quick one. This is how everything fits together. We've got our BMC AMI Command Center for security products, and we have all that's our mothership, and all of our other functions work through there in order to get your data into your enterprise and moving on and doing something useful with it. That's all I'm going to say on my advert. I've just got one more slide for you. I think as a community, this is going to be the thing that's going to engage us over the next 24 months. So DORA, the Digital Operation Resilience Act that's been brought in by the European Community, that went live on the 17th of January 2023. You now have 24 months up to 17th of January 2025 to comply before there are implications with regards to fines, etc. So what is it all about? It's about financial institutions having sound, comprehensive and well-documented IT risk management frameworks. It's about having your zero trust framework in place, having your NIST framework in place. It actually maps really well to NIST, but proving to your regulators that you have that in place. And I talk about it from a security perspective, but actually it's about general resilience. It's about operational resilience, and security is part of that. So I think this is going to drive our thinking as a security group going forward over the next 24 months. So just remember DORA if you haven't heard it before. Is anybody involved in a DORA project at the moment, just out of interest? We're all going to leave last minute then, are we? Excellent.
What's the question, Mark? What's the question, Mark?
Of course.
It says that the last bullet here says testing using third-party penetration tests. Are BMC going to be involved in producing third-party penetration products for mainframe?
Yes, indeed.
Do you repeat the question just for that?
So the question is, it says at the bottom here, so the point about DORA regulation is it's enforceable. So it's up to 3% of turnover is the maximum fine for non-compliance. And how are they going to make sure that you comply? They're going to get third-party auditing involved. So third-party penetration testing, not just across the mainframe, but across the enterprise. And yes, absolutely, we remain committed to delivering penetration testing within BMC. Yeah.
So now we've got GDPR. We've just recovered from that, and so now this is thrust upon us.
Yeah. Now the budget for this, interestingly, will sit within your business recovery divisions and areas like that. But you know, in order to comply with this, some budget needs to be made available to people to make it happen. And you know, applying an existing framework is the fastest way. And we've done the mapping to map the NIST framework to the DORA framework, and it's exactly this. It's you can read my white paper about it at some point again.
It's quite interesting actually, because with the proposals that I was telling you about earlier on for the GSE conference this year, we've had 5 proposals for DORA. You know, people are wanting to talk about it, and so it'll be interesting. Yeah, DORA. DORA.
I did actually have on one of my presentations about DORA a picture of Dora the Explorer, but it cost $21 to get it for the copyright for it, and they wouldn't fund me for that on this one, so I had to take it off. So look, that's all I've got to say. That'll be a word from your sponsor. Have a fantastic day. I'm going to hand over to David Lee, who's going to do the first presentation of the day. Thank you.
David, I think you might want to just come over here a bit where you've got the speaker. Okay, the speaker. Thank you very much for that, Mark.
No problem.
Is that a close enough to you, Jamie?
Yeah, you'll need to project.
So yeah, thank you very much. So my name is David Lee. I'm the product owner for the AIM security products. I also am the technical coordinator for the GSE security group. So welcome to everybody to BMC Winnersh and everybody who's actually on the call. I'm going to start with a big statement. There is war in Europe at the moment, and it's full scale war, and that means something for your mainframe. So I'm going to walk through some kind of points and thoughts that we've kind of collated and discussed internally, and we'll kind of explore that as a topic and what it can be meaning for you. Some of our clients in the room, this has already had an effect for you. Swift network and Russia will have stopped, and you will be under attack by Russia as a nation state. They will be on their target. So I'm talking to the to people who are on the front line of this in terms of defence as a security community. Just to put it into context, top right, you can tell me where that is. Yeah, Chernobyl. So the reason I put this there is that photo was taken by myself. So this is kind of how close to home and how recent this has come about. So I took that in the last 5 years on a lad's weekend in Ukraine. So in between beers, there was a trip to a nuclear power plant. Yeah. So that great into context. The tanks, which are Russian tanks, that is with an hour walk. That photo taken. So It might feel far away. It really it's not far away. It's very much on our front doorstep as Europeans, and due to things that we'll talk about in the presentation, it is a global problem. And IT doesn't see borders either, so it's very much a global security, cybersecurity problem. Just to kind of set the picture a bit more as well, another picture taken by myself on that Ukraine trip, Freedom's Our Religion. So this is about 100 meters across and about 30 meters high. That is in the central square in Kiev. Even at this point, 5 years ago, kind of missiles going off from not Russia at that, but Russian rebels, as they claim to be, was so common. It happened twice when we were there, and it wasn't even reported. We didn't even know about it. A friend back home said, "Oh, I caught this when I was reading the news. Did you know that a bomb went off 20 miles north of Kiev when you were there?" The answer was no. So this war, although it's full scale now, it began a long time ago from there and hasn't been opened up. Obviously, that escalated last year. So from BMC perspective, this isn't from the internet. This is a public blog. So Ayman, our CEO, BMC has decided to stop all business with Russia and Belarus, and soon suspend all business and services results directly from the US and European sanctions and mandates on Russia. I'm sure, as a lot of the rest of you in the room, I was very proud to see this when BMC did this. You know, we absolutely should not be doing business with people that are committing suspected war crimes, and we're very happy to see that. So the agenda. I attended a talk last week, InfoSec. Chris Roberts from Euroclear was there as well. So we're going to talk about how Cyber Command are staying secure on the front line, just briefly, just to set the context of the front line. Why nation state needs to be looked at differently, why this makes the mainframe more of a target, how the threat landscape changes for the mainframe as a result of the conflicts, thoughts on changing strategy and protecting the mainframe. If there's one takeaway I want to highlight today, for if you switch off, can I get your attention back later in the talk? That is our thoughts on short, medium, and long-term kind of steps you can take to react to the conflicts in Eastern Europe. A summary slide. So, getting straight into it. How do Ukraine Cyber Command stay secure on the front lines? They go offline. It's as simple as that. Their attack surface is only as big as it needs to be. They are bringing their network, sorry, I should say, this is communications only. So this is a talk from last week at InfoSec I attended. So what they're doing is their communications modules are brought online and offline via SMS. And then, so they're online for the period they need to be, and they go straight offline again. It's as simple as that. They airlock their network, and they've got cyber kill switches engaged as well. So the minute they think they're being attacked, they just take everything offline instantly. They're also using multiple layers in that network. So they're using, it's been publicized that they're using Starlink, the mobile data network, as long as the conventional work as well. They are the number one target for the Russians. So if you look at statistics of where the Russian cyber command are attacking the most, it is the Ukraine Department of Defense. So why does a nation state need to be looked at differently, and why countries should be concerned? So the NCSC, which is the UK equivalent of CISA, they have released these two articles on their websites. The first one is on the run-up to the Ukraine invasion. The attack already started. And the second thing is straight away followed, go and check your config. Go and check it. Are you resilient? Can you sustain an attack from Russia? Because it will be coming. So out to the audience, why should nation state be looked at differently? We have some thoughts, and I'll relay that to the. We definitely have an opinion. So please, someone. Martin, Phil. Yeah.
They are exceedingly well resourced in terms of finances, and should we say the support that their attackers get in terms of being protected, they will just get at them.
Okay, so just for the call, we've had resource and support in terms of retaliation. Any other thoughts in the room, Lenny?
Well, a completely different legal situation as well.
Yeah, so for the call, legal situation, absolutely. Any others? Okay, two. Thank you, Bruce. So I asked ChatGPT the same question. One way to get your research done quickly. I did also validate what ChatGPT told me, just in case the Russians have managed to infiltrate OpenAI. So resources and capability. Yeah, money and people. They've got dedicated warfare units that are positioned to carry out these things, and funding. They've got big pockets. Strategic objectives. They are not going to be writing web code to go looking for vulnerability. They are going to be coming after you, and they are going to be doing. They're going to be thinking your environment. They are going to be doing social engineering at the salespeople. They know that supply you with your hardware, your software, and they're going to be trying to map your environment. And if they've already got 0 days there, they're going to start issuing them or putting on your network. Being state sponsored. So long-term campaigns, they're run as operations. They are properly organised. They are bonuses involved for the employees. There are goals set. This is not someone sitting in their bedroom trying to prove that they're better than Big Blue or BMC or Broadcom or Microsoft or whoever that may be. As Lenny said, legal immunity. So some ignore laws completely. I'm not going to go any more into that. That's just a thought I'm going to put out there. But there is also immunity. Lack of extradition laws, local laws being different. They are not necessarily going to be affected by international law, and particularly without that extradition aspect, there is no concern at all for people carrying out these attacks. They're also potentially going to be done under what is going to be claimed the guise of a legal war as well. So there's going to be protection there. Advanced techniques. They've got lots of funding, and they've got relationships with the universities. I'm not sure if anybody's kind of watched some of the documentaries around kind of these closed states or semi-closed states, such as Russia and North Korea. But the idea is they pretty much tap the talented ones in university and put them straight into a unit. So they've got some of the best minds in the country, and they've got the resources to make these attacks come to fruition. Geopolitical tensions. If you've been breached or had a ransomware attack personally or anything like that, the sole aim of that is normally financial. The goal with something like a nation state isn't going to be financial. It's going to be to cause disruption. That is a very different vector when you're looking at why they're doing an attack, because you can't appease it. There's nothing that they can stop other than harm. So, just looking through this slide. So these are some of the things that I've taken from the web. So US delivering tanks, Britain long-range missiles, Poland tanks, Slovakia jets, Germany helmets. I know that's now tanks. I started writing this talk a while ago. Now what does this mean? Russia considered these proxy attacks. It's as simple as that. But there's also softer actions as well, also considered threats. Finland joining NATO, straight away, same at the minute it was announced, and on the run up to it as well, Russia warned of countermeasures. Now, let's not have any empathy for Russia, but as a kind of pragmatic view, if you were Russia, a great big land border that shared with Finland, you're going to see that as a problem if they are joining NATO. So why does this make the mainframe more of a target? So I've set the backstory. Now we've finally got onto the mainframe, so thank you for bearing with me. Cool. Now I've had two. Let's see if we can get three. Stephen. Oh, sorry.
That's where the money is.
Yeah, and what do you mean by where the money is?
The whole bank.
Okay, so yeah. So workload, what it's running, yeah. Any other thoughts? Okay, so what do you mean by blackmail? So sorry.
Well, they can get into people's systems, they can enter for ransom or ransomware.
Okay, so just kind of power leveraging have overtaken what that institution does, yeah.
I say even more that, if they can deny access to the mainframe, then you're denying the ability of people in that country.
Yeah.
Or widespread to do any kind of business, including go to the shops.
Okay, so widespread disruption, and particularly on things like utilities and key services. Okay, all great answers.
GPT.
I only use ChatGPT once. So cyber warfare. So one retaliation is that's non-physical, and I put that with an asterisk because it can stop someone having food, water, and access to utilities. There's a physical repercussion from there, but the non-physical side is cyber warfare. How can Russia attack Britain and the US or whoever for sending missiles and tanks and jets, whatever. And that answer is it's cyber warfare. That is how they're going to get us back. There obviously are some other dirty tricks going on. We know some of the kind of the another chop goings on and things like that, but that is another topic completely, and we're talking about cyber here. So the map there is something a lot of you are going to be familiar with. That is the missile attack map as well. If you go on that map at the moment, there is pretty much a great big pipe from Russia coming out to everywhere, anywhere. So they're on full offence at the moment. Workload, as we touched on already, what the mainframe does. If we just read off some of these statistics, top 10 insurers, 90% of the top 100 banks, 90% of the airlines, 80% of enterprise data sits on the mainframe. You will take out countries if you could take out the mainframe. It's as simple as that. You are talking power, you're talking water, dams, food, money, just everything. It's the 80% of enterprise data. If you took 80% of your key parts of your life away today, what would that look like if you're left with 1 out of 5 of those? And you can't guarantee which one of those 5 it's going to be either, of course. So I'm not going to repeat that one for the call, but we had a Saki comment from that. A technical view. What else does this look like? So with modern technologies now running on the mainframe, you don't even need to be mainframe literate to carry out this attack. So ZOSMF, ODT, REST APIs, certificate hijacking, getting hold of private keys and this kind of thing. Your attacker may never have even seen a mainframe, and they don't need to either nowadays. Technical debt. With so many years of lack of investment and the fact that the mainframe has been in place for so long, it is very likely that is the platform in your enterprise with the most technical debt. Now that, in some cases, is a good thing if it's been kept up with, because it keeps it the policing heart of the organisation, but that also leaves things behind. Things like public-facing insecure connections. Now, if you do not believe me, there is a website out there called ZoomEye, and this scans the internet. You can search on there for the TN37 protocol. So open ports in plain text listed for TN3070, there are hundreds. With critical data sitting on the mainframe, this requires the mainframe to sit at the center of the enterprise from a network perspective. Now, the mainframe is a target to be attacked, but if you're an attacker trying to launch an attack on an enterprise, that sounds like a pretty good staging platform to me. So how they're being conflicted in Europe, how this changes the threat landscape for the mainframe. So the vectors are largely the same, just some have become more prevalent and increased in magnitude. If I look at the image on the left, if we got left and right left, this will show movement of people, and this is post the conflict start. There's been a lot of movement from people from Russia into Europe, and also people in peacetime as well. You've got somebody in now in Western Europe who knows in a key role doing something that has family back in Russia. I can only imagine what the FSB will do to that family back at home in order to get what they want from the person out in the West. And that person will like comply as well, as is the case for people to protect their family. We've spoken to clients in the Nordics, and they've shared they're seeing an increase in attacks with a suspected Russian origin. They've been very political using the word suspected. I would say a Russian origin. Expect 0 days you haven't seen before. They've got deep pockets and resources we touched on earlier. They will have the capacity to be writing exploits that we've never seen before in the wild and will not be known to vendors. And they are very talented with it as well. Finally, an anomaly needs to have a root cause identified. I got told in operations you'd have to see like anomaly 3 times before you investigate it. At the moment, I would everything. That anomaly could very well be a sophisticated attack. Find it, get the root cause, don't see business as usual. Keep your infrastructure in kind of crisis state until you've worked out what it is. The mainframe architecture and culture can also be its downfall. So if we talked about Ukraine Cyber Command, they're protecting themselves by making their attack surface as small as possible. But the mainframe, what do we pride ourselves on? 24/7 by 365. So a bad actor, if they are already in the enterprise or they're attacking, if you have got a public facing mainframe, it's there all the time for them to have a go at. It's never offline, and it can't produce what it does. We have a lack of transparency when it comes to vulnerabilities. We all know how we behave towards 0 days and things like that. We refuse to release them unless a client will go direct to the relevant bodies and let them know about the vulnerability. What does this mean? It means there are a lot of 0 days out there running on live systems that are not patched and not known about. This allows bad actors, particularly with resources of nation states, they can start building their own libraries of exploits. Skills gaps. So there are always holes in the systems. OVS being a big one that we always find when we're doing assessments and penetration testing. Some sites just do not have the knowledge. They tend to be ESM heavy or OVS heavy, and there is normally a pretty clear split. The age of the platform and lack of investment can lead to configuration that was once okay and acceptable, but now is not. And key one I go back to that's very easy to digest is plain text connections. Anywhere else in the enterprise, that is completely unacceptable. When you tell a mainframe sysprog we want to make this connection secure, the first thing you're going to say is, well, it might break something. When that workload is your key application or your business process, there isn't much appetite to secure that, and it just goes on a risk register. Well, that risk register may go out the window if your organisation is completely upside down. So, some thoughts on changing strategy and protecting the mainframe. So, there needs to be quick wins. Anything can be rapidly addressed, it should be. One good way to do this is straight away go out and get a third party to assess the state of your system. The quick wins there, so the easy to fix and the high scoring in terms of risk, just get them done. There's no reason not to. Secondly, this is a C-suite problem, not just another incident. I think you should approach the kind of a nation state as a risk vector in a similar way that you would ransomware. The idea that you're going to have to be able to do a full recovery. This does not sit with your CTO, your CISO, or in some places just given to your mainframe lead. This is a company-wide problem, and it needs to have an approach that reflects that. Another good way to look at things is not necessarily from a ransomware, be able to cover ransomware, but assume breach. Assume your system has been breached. As I touched on in earlier slides, we saw that on the run-up to the Ukraine invasion, Russia had been carrying out attacks. Now, I couldn't find the correct source for it, so I didn't put it in the slides. But there was a professor in Ukraine who done some research, and now he thinks the Russians are in as many as 135 key infrastructures across the world. And by key infrastructures, he means finance, he means utilities, and not just bull.com. He means that the companies are looking after dams and things like that. A ransomware style recovery will be required. If you have been breached and you suspect that a nation state is there, you've got to get completely clean. You've got to take your disk back way further than you'd be comfortable with and accept that there may be data loss. So preparation for this one is key. The impact of that is changing strategy. So these aren't mainframe specific, but the NHS ransomware attack, anyone with friends and family in the NHS will know systems down for months, working on paper and still not recovered. And then the emergency services. So I put an asterisk next to the non-physical attack. It very quickly becomes real when someone can't get the help they require and they're having a health issue or a fire or whatever. So what steps can an organisation look to implement? So for anyone asleep in the room or on the call, wake up, please. This is the point that I want to be the takeaway from the talk. So zero trust. Trust nothing all of the time. Constantly working towards a zero trust model. Now, that needs to be ongoing. So I'm not going to outline what I think a zero trust looks like because it'll evolve, and it's just a constant. That is a constant strategy going forward into the future. Assume breach. Something we mentioned earlier. Assume systems breach. Yeah, assume a nation state could be there. Approach it like that, and that'll be. Don't try and find best case scenario, assume worst case scenario. Out of the box intelligence. If your short-term goals to address this, you need to use products that have got inbuilt intelligence to it. You can't spend 2 years configuring, you haven't got time to do it. You've got to act now. Network segmentation, implement a kill switch. Lessons learned from early in the presentation, Ukraine Cyber Command. If your mainframe does come under attack, or you feel it's the staging platform for an attack within the organisation, be able to take it offline programmatically. Right, The days of getting someone to go into a data center and pull cables out, that may still be what somebody does at the moment. That's not good enough. We need to be able to kill a big red switch. Go do your investigation, get a Sev 1 in there, and get all the people on the call that need to be there and say, yeah, we're pretty certain we're under attack, and take offline as soon as possible. Okay, at this point, there will be obviously reputational damage for being offline as an organization. Yeah, not as bad as what it could be if you didn't take the mainframe offline. Machine learning. One of a really good way to work out a bad actor from a good actor. You can kind of apply these one-shoe-fits-all rules. So assume that S elevated to this with respect to suspicious. But if you can profile someone's normal behavior in their day-to-day over a set period and work out their baseline of what their role is during a period of trust, obviously there is risk during that trust period, bad actors in that trust period, that we then trust their bad behavior going forward. But that is a really, really good way, and another arsenal in the toolkit for protecting against attacks. No user should have privileged access in their BAU role. So good rule of thumb for defining what privileged access is. Any access to business critical data will disrupt business critical operations. If your access allows you to do either of those, don't give it as permanent access, put it behind a process to go and check it out. Ransomware preparedness checklist. So CISA are constantly updating their ransomware preparedness checklist. As your short-term, one of the short-term measures, work through this checklist and measure yourself against it. Bring all maintenance up to date. Now, I know that seems trivial to say that, but on the mainframe, we know how back level it can be. I mean, we kind of see clients and services that we've seen nothing done kind of for a decade in extreme cases. Medium term, zero trust again. If they're on medium trust, it's something you should constantly be working towards. MFA, implement multi-factor authentication. My thoughts are all users if possible, really. I know there is kind of an argument for you only need it for your privileged users. We will have MFA to get onto all our laptops. So why, if we need it for our laptop, would we not need it to get onto the mainframe? We do. It's as simple as that.
Can I just ask a quick question to the audience? Who's doing MFA on the mainframe? Oh, okay, good. Wow. Quite a few show of hands there.
So for the call, there was about 6 or 7 hands raised for who's implementing MFA or using MFA on the mainframe. Network segmentation. So talked in short term about having a kill switch to take the mainframe offline. We can go further than that in the medium term. We can apply policy-based profiles for users. So what does network segmentation mean for if it's a new concept to anybody in the room? It means I have no access to the mainframe if I've authenticated. So I go to some kind of jump server, I authenticate with my credentials and hopefully MFA. 5 minutes, thank you. I've authenticated, I dynamically get my access built and allowed access to the mainframe. Then just another, this can be used both ways as well. One is to make it harder to access the mainframe. But the second thing as well, you can use it the reverse and you can cut users out as well. You see suspicious behavior, don't only revoke them and take them offline, block their network access again. If they are a bad actor, they're going to likely have more than access to one set of credentials. This will address that based on their source IP. Penetration testing. One thing about the mainframe is don't forget to the perimeter. Yeah, so check your ESN config, go through all the internals on the mainframe, check the perimeter as well. Your APIs need to be fit, check the keys are all there, certificates can't be spoofed, all that good stuff. So in the short term, we've gone through the ransomware checklist. Now it's time to validate it. Go through that list and start stress testing it. What we can do, can we actually do it? And then be working towards the gaps there as well. Stress testing existing processing. So on a client we worked within the past, we actually managed to hijack their certificate process as a way of getting into an API. They didn't do any kind of, you didn't have to justify why we need a certificate. We were just authorized to request a certificate. We saw the CA for that certificate was being secured by the CA. We requested a certificate of the same CA, and we could then be pulled on their API. It was as simple as that. And then stress testing, stress testing existing processes. So long term, zero trust again, constantly working towards it. It doesn't stop. Rolling assessments and penetration tests, we're constantly validating. The third parties carrying out assessments and penetration tests, they're out there in the wild all the time, carrying these out. They've got all the kind of up-to-date latest attacks and know what to look for. Implement a continual service improvement plan. This doesn't stop. So you've found where your holes are, you need to address them, and that needs to have a continuous service investment plan. Educate and invest in the workforce. You know, it is not good enough to have 3 people running your mainframe. And you know why there's normally only 2 people? Because one needs to go on holiday at some point, what's going to be ill. Yeah, it's not good enough. We need people, there needs to be investment, there needs to be education carried out. Automation to address technical debt and decrease attack surface. Your technical debt may be something as simple as certificates are expired, still being used. There are automation solutions out there to address this. So, in summary, we've spoken about the health cyber command, stay secure on the front line, why nation states need to be looked at differently, and who's concerned, everybody, why this makes the mainframe more of a target, how the threat landscape changes, and thoughts on changing strategy. And there's one takeaway I want you to take away from today is the short, medium, and long-term thoughts that I've just gone through.